How's it going? Been doing a lot of shop fab lately. Thinking about reading these things and thinking about finding the center of stuff and how often you have to find center. You know, when you're doing fabrication and layout, a lot of times you're finding center. When you're lifting things with the hoist, a lot of times you got to find the center so that the load picks up level. It reminded me of about 20 years ago. I was working with a bunch of welders, building drilling rigs, and I walked up on a group of guys that was getting ready to run a piece of 6-inch pipe through a mud tank wall. They had a center punch mark on the wall. They were going to use the circle marker, but they needed to know what half a 6 5/8 was, and as soon as they said they were looking to figure out what half a 6 5/8 was, I said it's 3 5/16. One of the guys said, "How do you know?" That's a fair question. If I'm saying that half a 6 5/8 is 3 5/16, how do I know? In my mind, I think half a 6 is 3, half a 5/8 is 5/16. That's 3 5/16. But I figure maybe everybody doesn't look at the tape measure the same way I do, so I figured I'd talk about the way I look at it and the way I think of an inch. Just imagine this is an inch. From right here to right here. Let's say that distance is an inch. Now, of the 1 inch we're talking about, there is 1 inch. Of the 1 inch we're talking about, there is the 1 inch. Now, if somebody asked me about this 1 inch and said, "What's half of that?" If you ask most people, what's half of 1 inch, they won't have too much trouble answering you. Say half of 1 inch is a half an inch. So if this is an inch from here to here, then from here to here is a half inch. So what happened there? The bottom number doubled. And that's the case with these fractions every time. If we look at a half inch, what's half of that half? It's a quarter. This one-quarter of an inch. Half of a half. See what happened here? Bottom number doubled, didn't it? So every time, regardless, somebody says, "What's half of 5/8? What's 5/16? What's half of 3/4? 3/8. What's half of 7/8? 7/16. If we say this is 1/4 of an inch, what's half of that? It's 1/8 of an inch. What happened there? Bottom number doubled. Out of that 1/8 of an inch, looking for half of that. Split it in half again. One 1/16 of an inch. So we've went from 1 inch, half of 1 inch is a 1/2 an inch. Half of a 1/2 an inch is 1/4 of an inch. Half of 1/4 of an inch is 1/8 of an inch. Half of 1/8 of an inch is 1/16. And in every case, that bottom number doubled. Now if this is a 1/16 of an inch, right here is 1, 2, 3/16. And the next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. The next one, if this is an 1/8, 1/4, here we're at 3/8. The next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/16. Nine 16ths, 5/8, 11/16, 3/4, 13/16, 7/8, 15/16, and then we're back at this 1 inch mark. So now if we understand that every time you find half of one of these, it's as simple as that bottom number doubling. You can take the next step on finding the center of numbers. And to me, that has to do with understanding how these are sometimes cousins. And this might get a little confusing, but it's understandable in my mind that 1/16 and 9/16 to some extent are cousins. This piece of paper represents a 1/2 an inch. Well, when I'm looking for half of a number, say I'm looking for half of 3 inches. Well, half of 3 inches is 1.5 inches. Well, that makes half something that I'm going to have to add a fraction to. And that's the reason why I say, in my mind, 1/16 and 9/16 are cousins. Because if I need to add 1/16 to a 1/2 an inch, I'll end up at 9/16. 1/8 and 5/8 are cousins. Because if I need to add 1/8 of an inch to a 1/2 an inch, I'll end up at 5/8. And it's the same with 3/16 and 11/16, 1/4 and 3/4, 5/16 and 13/16, 3/8 and 7/8, 7/16 and 15/16. So what I'm meaning by that is, let's flip this over. When I'm thinking about finding the center of something that's 33 and 7/8 of an inch, Well, what do I think in my mind? Half of 30 is 15. Half of 3 is 1.5. Half of 7/8 is 7/16. So I'm at 15, 16.5, and 16.5 plus 7/16 is 16 and 15/16. That's the reason that I say these numbers sometimes have cousins, like 1/16 and 9/16 are cousins. And you can go into something a lot bigger. Say we're talking about a big I-beam we got to find the center of, and it's 27 foot, 9 3/4 of an inch. What am I thinking in my mind to find the center of this? I'm thinking half of 20 is 10 foot. Half of 7 foot, that's 3'6". Half of 9 inches is 4.5 inches. And half of 3/4 of an inch is 3/8 of an inch. So when I'm looking at finding the center of an I-beam that's 27 foot, 9 3/4, this is what I'm adding up in my mind. 10, 13 foot 6 plus 4.5 is 13 foot 10.5 plus 3/8 brings us to 13 foot 10 7/8. Maybe that'll help some people. It's a lot simpler in my mind than a lot of people make it out to be. So I thought maybe I would just explain what I think of whenever I'm finding center. And you'll find that the more you do it, the more often you're reading your tape measure and marking center and finding center and working with your tape measure, the faster you'll get at it. I know I go through times where I'm not doing a lot of metal fabrication and I'm doing more heavy iron welding and I'm not measuring as much and I get a little rusty. Then I get back to doing a lot of fabrication work and I pick it up again and get sharp again. Hope it helps. You guys have a good one. Thanks for watching.